The 90s Spider-Man the Animated Series by Marvel was a masterwork, nothing short of it. While I did have my issues with it, namely the fact that Spidey would never stop talking, like there was never a moment of silence throughout this entire series. It was always going, no matter what. But at the same time, I had ADD as a child. I'm pretty sure I still have it. I still have trouble focusing in a lot of instances. But there was never a silent moment of contemplation. Spidey was always talking mentally or out loud or quipping or something like that, but that was indicative of a lot of 80s and 90s comics. There was always text telling you how someone is feeling, what their motivations are. Like something was always going, no matter what. Quiet was never the name of the game. But maybe that played to its advantages. It made sure that no matter what, you always knew what was going on. And it adapted so many comic book issues of Spider-Man. By this point, you were seeing every possible Spidey story to some capacity. From the Clone Saga to a little bit of Secret Wars, something was always going on. From Spidey's mutation starting to get a little bit out of hand, to a little bit of Into the Spider-Verse kind of storytelling, honestly. Because, yeah, there were alternate reality versions of Spidey before, yes, that was a thing, but they were never really at the forefront. This series was the first time it ever played a factor in terms of an outright story. Spider Carnage and all that. We even got to see a little bit of Ben Reilly, who never really gets adapted too much in any form of adaptation. But it ran the gauntlet. And the secrets, the Sinister Six and all of that, this was the first time they really got time to shine. And not only that, the series kind of created a little bit of confusion for some people who went on to think, like myself, that the Hobgoblin was first and the Green Goblin came afterwards, whereas it was actually the inverse. But you also had the Spider Slayers. I remember the Spider Slayer toys where you could just stack one on top of the other. It was so impractical, but it was so fun. And that's just what this series was, fun. It even rewrote the origin of Carnage in a way that just continues to get adapted in other forms of media. Because originally in the comics, Carnage came from the Secret Wars. Spidey went to another planet and the alien goo attached to him when he was going to change his costume and all of that. And interestingly enough, that happened in this series. The Secret Wars happened to a certain degree, but that's not where he gets Venom from. Not to mention, this series also had Carnage. Dude, Carnage! And despite the fact that Carnage couldn't be as bloody as he was in the other series, he was still felt just as deadly. Watching him nowadays is just like, oh, you could plainly see that he was a little bit neutered for this series. But man, when I was a kid, I remember thinking Carnage was the most violent thing possible. Like, my God, what a freaking sinister being. He just felt so edgy to me. I loved Venom, I loved Carnage, I loved Spidey, I loved the Green Goblin, the Hobgoblin. Honestly, this series gave a lot of appreciation for the Hobgoblin, because considering how underplayed he gets in other series that have come out since, this was where the Hobgoblin shined. Not to mention the fact that the Hobgoblin was voiced by friggin' Mark Hamill. Come on, man. Like, it was just grade A at every turn. The writing, while not always the tightest thing around, was still so fun. You had introductions of Blade and Morbius and Black Cat. Oh man, Black Cat was so sexy. So sexy. I could not get over how sexy Black Cat was. And Mary Jane Watson, girl was fine. Like, I swing in every way possible, but man, when it came to my love of women, Spider-Man did a service to anyone who was down for it. Not to mention, you're watching dudes in spandex, and let's just say once you start thinking about certain things a little bit deeper, it might have been a sexual awakening for a lot of people in a lot of ways. But that's neither here nor there. This series, grade A stuff. But honestly, I don't have to tell you that much. But honestly, it was one of the first superhero series I watched. Between Batman and this and X-Men, like the 90s was just such a breeding ground for the greatest animations out there. You could talk about these works time and time again and find a different experience in every way, shape, or form. So you've heard mine, let me hear yours. What stuck out to you most about this series? What was it about this series that you loved the most? What were some of your favorite characters involved in all of this? I'm so interested to hear from you. Man, the Kingpin really did have a lot of screen time in this series too. Loved having the Kingpin in this series. Not enough Daredevil despite that fact too. It's funny. But I'm really interested from hearing from you, and if you like this little talk, please like, comment, and subscribe. Or don't, I ain't your daddy, but I still love you like one. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.